Hello, I'm Matt Damour of the Link newspaper and 99% Media, here with another Montreal protest recap. So today was a large demonstration that took place at Square Victoria. To give a little bit of background, today was a day of large strike action. There was a big teacher strike. A lot of different teachers' unions voted for a one-day strike, and in recognition of this and in solidarity for the teachers' actions, a lot of students were on strike as well. I got to Square Victoria at about 11:30 in the morning, and by that point there were already thousands of people who had converged on Square Victoria. Teachers and students were being brought in by the busload, so there was definitely a huge presence at the square for this particular demonstration. In terms of demographics, it was quite varied. You had people young and old, students, families, teachers, people from all walks of life with different signs and flags speaking about different issues. And as the majority of people arrived at Square Victoria, speeches began. Some words were spoken by different union leaders talking about the reason people were assembled there today, mainly in opposition to austerity measures by Quebec's Liberal government under Premier Philippe Couillard, and their displeasure with the way that union negotiations have been going. There's been a lot of pressure on teachers for increased work hours, more students in classes, and less access to resources for special needs students. So that's a lot of what was talked about in these speeches.
Alors aujourd'hui, dans toutes les mobilisations de l'automne, nous allons dire non, non à ce choix idéologique. Et d'ailleurs, parlant de mobilisation, le 28 novembre prochain, la coalition organise une manifestation nationale pour la redistribution de la richesse en faveur des services publics et des programmes sociaux. Vous êtes toutes et tous invités. Merci.
The march started proper at about 12:30 after the speeches were done. This was a short march from Square Victoria to Dorchester Square, but it actually took quite a bit of time because there were thousands upon thousands of people in the street. So you also had some baby strollers and things like that that people were pushing, so it was definitely a slower pace. There were no riot police on the ground. Some police officers were walking alongside the protest, but do keep in mind that the organizers of this particular march had provided an itinerary to the SPVM, so I suppose the SPVM didn't feel it was necessary to have riot police on the ground because they weren't expecting too many surprises. Once they actually got to Dorchester Square, the majority of people were milling about the square, talking and waving their flags and making a lot of noise. There was another round of speeches from different union representatives, once again talking about opposition to the austerity movement and calling for better conditions for teachers. I did speak to police officers after the fact who confirmed that there were no arrests. It was a peaceful and very large demonstration. So nothing to report on that end in this particular protest. What'll be very interesting to see is whether this sets off more protests in Montreal. In my experience covering these things, usually when you have a large event like we saw today, it galvanizes and inspires people to take to the streets more often, and there were calls in the speeches for people to take to the streets in solidarity with teachers and students. Another thing I should point out is I've seen a term being used online by some of the student and teachers unions, and it's un mouvement, one movement, which sort of speaks to the fact that they are trying to create a united front between teachers, students, and some public sector employees for more organized strike action in the fall. That's one of the criticisms that I heard quite a bit about the student movement in fall 2015, is that it wasn't organized enough around one central idea. So it seems that they're trying to nip that in the bud early on in this fall by creating this movement called One Movement. So it's going to be interesting to see how this develops over the next couple of weeks. For the Link newspaper and 99% Media, I'm Matt Damour.